The council chamber echoed with the usual noise of 100 different species talking at once. Ambassador Marcus Chen stood at the human delegation podium, waiting patiently for the noise to die down. He held a simple data pad in his hand, and his face showed no emotion at all. The Galactic Council had been in session for 3 hours already. They had spent most of that time arguing about trade routes and mineral rights. The human proposal for upgrading the defense grid around the outer colonies had been dismissed without even a vote. Again, Council President Zukar, a massive reptilian creature from the Corvani Empire, finally noticed the human still standing at the podium. His 4 eyes narrowed in annoyance. "Ambassador Chen, we have already moved past your agenda item. Please return to your observation seat, the observation seat, not even a real member seat." Despite humanity protecting half the galaxy for the past 50 years, Chen didn't move. Instead, he activated his data pad. The soft blue glow caught the attention of a few nearby delegates. "I have a message from Earth," Chen said quietly. His voice somehow carried across the entire chamber, cutting through the chatter. The room slowly fell silent. Zukar's tail swished impatiently. "Then deliver it quickly. We have important matters to discuss." Chen looked directly at the council president. "Effective immediately, Earth withdraws all military support, technological assistance, and diplomatic mediation from council space." The silence that followed lasted exactly 3 seconds. Then the chamber erupted. "You cannot be serious," shouted Ambassador Julian of the Zalathi, her perfect blue skin flushing purple with indignation. "This is obviously a negotiation tactic. A rather crude one," Chen continued as if she hadn't spoken. "All human personnel will be evacuated within the next 72 hours. Our medical stations will be dismantled. Our patrol fleets are already returning to Earth space. Our translation networks will be shut down at midnight, Council Standard Time." The Corvani president laughed, a harsh sound like grinding metal. "The humans throw a tantrum because they don't get their way. How typical. Let them go. We managed before they arrived, we will manage after they leave." Only one figure in the chamber remained still. Chronicler Yath of the Vrixi sat in his corner, his ancient eyes watching carefully. He was old enough to remember what the galaxy looked like before the humans came. The memory made him shudder. "This is not a negotiation," Chen said. "This is not a threat. This is simply a notification. We are leaving." Ambassador Terran of the Mindari Federation stood up, his 6 arms waving frantically. "But what about the Thraxian situation? You are mediating our trade disputes." "I'm sure you can work it out among yourselves," Chen replied. He turned off his datapad and walked toward the exit. "Wait," Julian called out. "You cannot simply abandon your responsibilities. What about the pirates in Sector 7? What about the medical supplies for the outer rings? What about—" Chen paused at the doorway. "For 50 years we have offered our help freely. For 50 years we have been told we are too young, too aggressive, too different to be full council members. You have made it clear we are not wanted here. We are simply respecting your wishes." He left without another word. The chamber exploded into chaos. Some representatives laughed, others shouted, and a few immediately began making private calls. Zukar slammed his ceremonial staff against the floor repeatedly, trying to restore order. "Silence," he roared. "The humans want attention. They want us to beg them to stay. We will not give them the satisfaction. If they want to leave, let them leave. We are the Galactic Council. We represent over 1,000 worlds and 200 species. We do not need one young, arrogant race to maintain order." The Zalathi ambassador stood gracefully, her flowing robes shimmering. "President Zukar is right. The humans have always overestimated their importance. Their military is large, yes, but crude. Their technology is innovative, but lacks elegance. We will adapt." Several representatives voiced their agreement. Others looked less certain but stayed quiet. In his corner, Chronicler Yath pulled up historical records on his personal display. His claws clicked nervously against the screen as he reviewed casualty reports from the Third Decimation War. 8 billion dead before the humans arrived, 0 after they intervened. Outside the council chamber, the evacuation had already begun. Human ships departed from hundreds of worlds simultaneously, their distinctive blue engines lighting up the space around every major port. They moved with perfect coordination, like a carefully rehearsed dance. On mining station Delta 9, the human medical team packed up their equipment while desperate miners begged them to stay. "The plague will come back," an old Thraxian miner wheezed. It always comes back without your medicine. The human doctor, a young woman named Lisa Park, looked genuinely sad. I'm sorry. The formula is in your medical database. Our doctors don't understand it, the miner interrupted. Only humans can make it work. Park wanted to explain, wanted to help, but her orders were clear. She placed a hand gently on the miner's scaled shoulder, then continued packing. In Sector 7, Captain Rodriguez received the evacuation order while his patrol fleet was pursuing pirates. He watched through his viewport as 3 pirate vessels attacked a civilian transport. Sir, his weapons officer said quietly. No, Rodriguez cut him off. Orders are orders. Set course for Earth. The patrol fleet jumped to hyperspace, leaving the transport to its fate. Within minutes, emergency beacons filled the communication channels. On the paradise world of Celestia, where the rich and powerful of the Council vacationed, the human resort staff quietly packed their belongings. The Zalathi noble lounging by the crystal pools didn't even notice when her human masseuse failed to show up for her appointment. She would notice tomorrow when the weather control systems, maintained exclusively by human technicians, began to fail. Back on Earth, Admiral Sarah Chen stood in the command center, watching dozens of displays showing the evacuation progress. Her aide, Commander Jackson, approached with a datapad. Admiral, the Mendari are already fighting with the Thraxians over the Kelsor mining rights. Without our mediators, I know, Chen said quietly. The Corvani fleet is mobilizing. Intelligence suggests they're planning to annex the Deltan system. I know. The plague on Xerxes Prime is spreading. They're begging for medical assistance. Chen closed her eyes. I know, Commander. I know all of it. Then why are we doing this? Jackson asked. Chen turned to face him. Because sometimes the only way to make someone appreciate what they have is to take it away. The Council has taken humanity for granted for too long. They need to remember why we were important. On the main display, a counter showed the evacuation progress. 67% complete. By tomorrow, there wouldn't be a single human in Council space. In the Council chamber, the arguing continued. Zukar had given up trying to maintain order. Representatives from smaller species were frantically trying to figure out how to maintain their defenses without human support. The larger empires were already making plans to expand their territories. Only chronicler Yath remained silent, watching his historical records. He pulled up a file labeled Pre-Contact Mortality Rates and compared it to current numbers. The difference made his heart sink. A young aide approached him. Chronicler, the Council President wants to know if you have any historical precedent for this situation. Yath looked at the young creature sadly. Oh yes, he said. I have plenty of precedent. Every great alliance in galactic history has fallen the same way. Not from external threats, but from forgetting who their real friends were. As the first human ships began arriving at Earth's defensive perimeter, the pirates in Sector 7 grew bolder. 3 more transports sent distress signals. Nobody answered. The Council members continued to argue and blame each other as the lights from human ships faded from their space. They told themselves things would be fine. They told themselves the humans would be back tomorrow, begging for forgiveness. They were wrong on both counts. 3 weeks had passed since the last human ship left Council space. Ambassador Julian stood before the emergency session, her usually perfect appearance showing signs of stress. Her blue skin had taken on a grayish tint, and her flowing robes were wrinkled. Honored representatives, she began, her voice lacking its usual musical quality. We need to discuss the situation in Sectors 4 through 7. What situation? President Zukar growled, though everyone knew exactly what she meant. Everything is under control. A bitter laugh came from Ambassador Terran of the Mendari. 2 of his 6 arms were wrapped in medical bandages. Under control? The Thraxians attacked our mining colony yesterday. 300 dead. You attacked us first, shouted the Thraxian representative, rising from his seat. You violated the treaty. What treaty? Terran demanded. The one the humans mediated? The humans who are no longer here? That treaty is worthless now. Julian tried to restore order. Please, we must remain civilized. We can work out new agreements. With what translators? Interrupted a small voice from the back. It was Representative Pip from the Yavari delegation. The human translation network went offline. Half of us can't understand each other without computer assistance, and our translators only work for species we've had contact with for over a century. The room erupted into dozens of conversations in different languages. The universal translators they had taken for granted were gone, and the Council's own translation systems were outdated and limited. Several arguments broke out simply because of misunderstandings. President Zukar slammed his staff against the floor. The sound needed no translation. When the room quieted, he spoke slowly so the basic translators could keep up. The Corvani Empire has volunteered to provide peacekeeping forces to maintain order. Peacekeeping? Terran stood up so fast he knocked over his chair. Your ships invaded 4 systems. You call that peacekeeping? Zukar's tail swished dangerously. We are providing stability. Something has to fill the vacuum the humans left. You mean you're conquering territory while no one can stop you? Accused Ambassador Velix of the Santari Commonwealth. My world's defense fleet is half destroyed from pirate attacks. Pirates that never dared to attack when the human ghost fleet patrolled our space. The mention of pirates made everyone uncomfortable. In just 3 weeks, pirate activity had increased by 400%. Trade routes that had been safe for decades were now dangerous. 3 major shipping companies had already gone bankrupt. Chronicler Yath watched from his corner, taking notes. He had lived for 300 cycles and had never seen the Council fall apart so quickly. He stood slowly, his ancient joints creaking. If I may, he said quietly. The room fell silent out of respect for his age. We should discuss the medical situation. Julian's skin went an even darker shade of gray. The plague outbreaks are contained. No, they are not, Yath interrupted. I have been monitoring the reports. 12 worlds now report plague outbreaks. The human medical stations are gone. The medicine they provided cannot be replicated by our scientists. That's impossible, said Dr. Kren of the Medical Consortium. Medicine is medicine. If humans could make it, so can we. Yath pulled up a holographic display. The humans used something they called nanites, microscopic machines that could adapt to any disease. We don't have that technology. We never bothered to learn it because the humans always provided it freely. Then we'll buy it from them, Zukar said dismissively. I tried, Shulian admitted quietly. Earth is not responding to any communications. They've closed their borders completely. The room went silent. Everyone had assumed the humans would come back, that this was all just a negotiation tactic. Admiral Thex of the Corvani fleet chose that moment to enter the chamber. His uniform was decorated with new medals and his 4 eyes gleamed with satisfaction. President Zukar, I bring news. We have successfully pacified the Deltan system. The rebels have been dealt with. Rebels? Pip squeaked. You mean the colonists who didn't want to be conquered? Thex turned all 4 eyes on the small representative. They resisted lawful authority. They were punished. Whose law? Terran demanded. The Council never authorized. The Council is weak, Thex interrupted. The Corvani Empire is strong. We are bringing order to chaos. You should be grateful. Before anyone could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the station. The main display lit up with emergency signals from across Council space. What's happening? Julian rushed to the control panel. A terrified technician looked up at her. The Sagittarius barrier has been breached. Something is coming through. Something big. The display showed massive energy readings from the barrier that separated Council space from the dead zone beyond. For 1,000 years that barrier had held. The humans had maintained it, upgraded it, strengthened it. Now it was failing. Get me a visual, Zukar ordered. The screen shifted to show the barrier region. Where there should have been empty space crossed with energy fields, there were now ships. But calling them ships seemed wrong. They were more like massive geometric shapes of living metal, each one the size of a small moon. They pushed through the barrier like it was made of paper. The Devourers, Yath whispered. They've returned. That's impossible, Julian said. The Devourers are a myth, a legend to scare children. No, Yath said. They are very real. They consumed 3 galaxies before going dormant. The humans found them 50 years ago and have been maintaining the barrier to keep them contained. Without maintenance, without the resonance frequencies the humans used, he trailed off. On the screen, the Devourer ships began to move toward the nearest inhabited system. Their surfaces rippled and shifted, sprouting what looked like tentacles made of liquid metal. Send the fleet, Zukar roared. All ships, intercept those things. Admiral Thex laughed. The mighty Corvani fleet will destroy these relics. He activated his communicator. All Corvani vessels engage the intruders. They watched as hundreds of Corvani warships jumped to the barrier region. The pride of the Empire, armed with the best weapons money could buy. They opened fire immediately, filling space with energy beams and missiles. The Devourers didn't even slow down. The weapons fire hit their liquid metal surfaces and was simply absorbed. Then the Devourers responded. Tendrils of living metal shot out, wrapping around Corvani ships and pulling them in. Within seconds, the proud warships were consumed, broken down into raw materials and absorbed into the Devourers' mass. Admiral Thex's confidence evaporated. That's not possible. Our weapons are useless, Yath finished. Only the humans knew how to hurt them. Something about matching their resonance frequency. We never asked how. We just assumed they would always be here to protect us. The emergency signals multiplied. Pirates were attacking everywhere. Knowing the defense fleets were distracted, the Thraxian-Mendari conflict had escalated into a full war. 3 more species announced they were joining the Corvani Empire for protection, though everyone knew it was really surrender. We have to call the humans, Julian said. We have to apologize and ask them to come back. Never, Zukar snarled. The Corvani Empire does not beg. Your empire will be dead in a week, Terran said bluntly. Look at the screen. The Devourers are heading straight for your home system. Indeed, the massive shapes had changed course, moving toward the heart of Corvani space with frightening speed. Chronicler Yath pulled up more files on his display. There's more you should know. The humans weren't just keeping out the Devourers. They were handling an average of 3 potential wars per cycle through mediation. They were maintaining critical infrastructure on over 100 worlds. They were providing food assistance to 17 systems that couldn't feed themselves. He paused, looking at each representative in turn. They did all of this without being asked, without being thanked, without even having a vote in this council. We thanked them, Julian protested weakly. When? Yath asked. Show me one official council record of thanks. One commendation, one recognition of their service. Silence filled the chamber. A new alarm sounded. On the display, a supernova bomb warning appeared. The ancient weapon, buried in an asteroid near the council capital, was approaching critical mass. How? Zukar demanded. That bomb has been dormant for centuries. The humans diffused it every year, Yath said simply. They never told us because they didn't want to cause panic. They just quietly handled it, like they handled so many other threats. The council members looked at each other in growing horror. 3 weeks. It had only been 3 weeks and everything was falling apart. Call them, Pip said quietly. Please, someone call the humans. Julian activated the communication system, sending a priority message to Earth. They waited. Minutes passed. No response, she tried again. Still nothing. They're not answering, she said unnecessarily. On the display, the Devourers continued their advance. The first inhabited world in their path had 12 hours before contact. The evacuation ships were already failing because without human traffic coordinators, they kept crashing into each other. President Zukar stood slowly. For the first time since anyone could remember, he looked afraid. Prepare a diplomatic ship. We go to Earth ourselves. All of us? Julian asked. All of us, he confirmed. We will beg if we have to. Chronicler Yath stood before the assembled council in the archives beneath the Capitol building. His claws trembled as he activated the classified files, each one marked with security seals that hadn't been broken in decades. The other representatives watched in stunned silence as holographic displays filled the room with data. These are the true records, Yath said quietly, hidden from public view by successive council administrations who didn't want to appear weak. The first file opened, showing a star map from 50 years ago. Red markers covered almost every sector, each one representing a conflict or crisis. Then year by year, the red markers began disappearing. The timeline matched perfectly with humanity's arrival in council space. The Third Decimation War, Yath began, pulling up battlefield recordings. 8 billion dead across 40 systems. The Skari were using biological weapons that turned victims into living weapons. No one could stop them. Then the humans arrived. The recording showed a younger Admiral Chen, Marcus Chen's mother, standing before the council of that time. We can stop this, she had said simply. No conditions. No demands. Just let us help, and they did, Yath continued. They developed a cure in 3 days. 3 days to solve what our best scientists couldn't fix in 3 years. They distributed it freely, saved entire worlds, and never asked for anything in return. Ambassador Julian's skin had gone completely gray. Why were these records sealed? Because the council of that time was embarrassed, Yath replied. They couldn't admit that a young species had saved them, so they classified the records and rewrote history to minimize humanity's role. He pulled up another file. The Void Syndrome outbreak 38 years ago. A mental plague that drove entire populations insane. The humans figured out it was actually a psychic weapon left over from an ancient war. They built jammers to block it, installed them on every affected world at their own expense. File after file opened. The quantum pirates who could phase through any shield until the humans developed a counter. The gray goo incident that nearly consumed 3 systems before human nanites stopped it. The terrorist group that had planted antimatter bombs on 12 capital worlds. All diffused by human special forces. This one is my favorite, Yath said bitterly, opening a file marked The False Piece. 20 years ago, the Corvani Empire and the Zalathi Collective were about to start a war that would have killed trillions. The humans staged a fake alien invasion that forced both sides to work together. Once the threat was defeated, the two powers had learned to cooperate. They never knew it was all human actors in modified ships. President Zukar's tail had stopped moving entirely, hanging limp behind him. They tricked us into peace. They saved you from yourselves, Yath corrected. And look at this. He pulled up a massive spreadsheet. This is a list of every extinction-level threat the humans have quietly handled. 237 in 50 years. That's almost 5 per year. Nuclear wars prevented, asteroid impacts deflected, plague outbreaks contained, dimensional rifts sealed. Dimensional rifts? Terran asked weakly. Oh yes, there's a weak point in space-time near the Aurelia system. It opens every 3 years and releases energy beings that feed on electrical impulses, like the ones in nervous systems. The humans have been sealing it each time, never mentioning it because they didn't want to cause a panic. Representative Pip raised a small hand. What about infrastructure? Yath pulled up another display. This one showed maintenance records. 70% of our crucial systems run on human-designed software or hardware. The weather control systems on resort worlds. The traffic coordination networks around major planets. The food distribution algorithms that prevent famines. All human-designed, human-maintained, provided freely. But surely we can maintain these ourselves, Dr. Kren protested. Can we? Yath asked. Doctor, tell me, how do the human medical nanites work? Kren was silent. Ambassador Shulian, how do the translation networks function? She looked away. Admiral Thex, how do the Ghost Fleet stealth systems work? The ones that kept pirates afraid for decades? No answer. We never learned, Yath said. We never asked. We just assumed the humans would always be there, always helping, always asking for nothing but basic respect in return, and we couldn't even give them that. He pulled up the most recent file, dated just before the human withdrawal. It was a council session recording. They watched as Ambassador Chen presented the defense upgrade proposal. They watched as it was dismissed without discussion. They watched Zukar refer to humans as aggressive primitives who should be grateful to even observe council proceedings. That was the 14th time in 2 years that a human proposal to improve our defenses was ignored, Yath said, and each time they said nothing. They just kept helping. A communication alert interrupted them. It was an emergency transmission from the fleet trying to stop the Devourers. On screen, Admiral Thex appeared, his uniform torn, green blood dripping from a cut on his head. The weapons are useless, he screamed. Nothing stops them. They've consumed half my fleet. They're learning from everything they absorb, getting smarter, getting stronger. They'll reach Corvani Prime in 6 hours. The transmission cut to static. Yath pulled up one more file. 3 months ago, the humans detected something. Ships massing outside our galaxy. They called them the Hollow Fleet. They tried to warn us. The recording played. Ambassador Chen stood before the council, a massive display behind him showing sensor data. This is a genuine threat, he was saying. These beings have consumed 12 galaxies before ours. They're coming here. We need to prepare. They watched the council laugh. They watched Zukar mock human paranoia. They watched as Chen's proposal for a united defense fleet was rejected as warmongering. The Devourers aren't the threat, Yath said quietly. They're just scouts. The Hollow Fleet uses them to weaken galaxies before the main invasion. The humans knew this. They tried to tell us. We didn't listen. Shulian pulled up her communication device, trying Earth again. Still no response. We have to go to them, she said. We have to make this right. Look at this, Yath said, pulling up current human activity reports. The satellites they'd left behind showed Earth's system had transformed. Massive stellar collectors surrounded the sun, harvesting energy at an incredible rate. Millions of ships formed defensive shells around every planet. Construction yards worked non-stop, building more vessels. They're preparing for war, Zukar said. No, Yath corrected. They're preparing for survival. They know what's coming. They tried to prepare all of us, but we wouldn't listen, so now they're protecting themselves. Another emergency transmission came through. The supernova bomb near the capital was accelerating its countdown. They had 48 hours before it detonated, taking the entire system with it. The humans always diffused it before it reached this stage, Yath explained. We don't even know where exactly it is, just the general area. They never told us because they didn't want us to panic. The weight of their dependence crashed down on them. Every system, every safety measure, every protection they had taken for granted was failing without human support. There's more, Yath said quietly. He pulled up a statistical analysis. Based on current trends, without human intervention, the Galactic Council will cease to exist within 6 months. 3 months if the Hollow Fleet arrives as scheduled. How did we not see this? Julian asked, her voice breaking. How did we not realize? Because they never complained, Yath replied. They never threatened to leave if we didn't appreciate them. They never demanded recognition. They just quietly did what needed to be done. And we mistook their humility for weakness. He pulled up one final file. It was a message from Admiral Sarah Chen, recorded just before the withdrawal. She was looking directly at the camera, her expression sad but determined. We know the Council will struggle without us, she said in the recording. We know people will die. We take no pleasure in this, but sometimes a parent must let a child touch a hot stove to learn that it burns. The Council needs to learn that humanity isn't just another member species to be ignored. We're the ones who keep the darkness at bay. We're the ones who fix what's broken. We're the ones who stand between you and extinction. And we're tired of doing it without basic respect. The recording ended. The room was silent except for the constant stream of emergency signals coming in from across Council space. Prepare the diplomatic ship, Zukar said finally. His voice had lost all its usual arrogance. We go to Earth, we beg if necessary. What if they don't forgive us? Pip asked quietly. Yath looked at the small representative. Then we die, all of us. Because everything in these files shows one truth we refuse to see. Humans aren't just members of our galactic community. They're the only reason we still have one. As they prepared to leave for Earth, Yath uploaded all the classified files to the public network. The Council members protested, but he ignored them. The people deserve to know, he said. They deserve to know who really saved them all these years. And they deserve to know who threw it all away out of pride. The uploads finished just as they boarded the diplomatic ship. Across Council space, billions of beings learned the truth at the same time. The reactions ranged from horror to rage to desperate hope that the humans would forgive them. The diplomatic ship dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Earth's system, and immediately every warning sensor screamed alerts. Ambassador Julian stared at the displays in disbelief. The entire system had been transformed into a fortress unlike anything in recorded history. 3 shells of defense platforms orbited the sun at different distances, each one consisting of millions of automated weapons. Massive stellar collectors, each the size of a moon, surrounded the sun in a perfect sphere, drawing energy that flowed through visible conduits to construction yards throughout the system. How did they build all this in 3 weeks? President Zukar whispered. They didn't, Chronicler Yath replied, studying the readings. Look at the construction dates on those inner platforms. Some are decades old. They've been preparing for this for years, hiding it from our sensors. A human voice crackled over their communications. Unidentified vessel, you have entered Earth sovereign space. State your purpose or you will be fired upon. Julian rushed to the communicator. This is Ambassador Julian of the Galactic Council. We request permission to approach Earth for diplomatic discussions. There was a long pause. Then, hold position. Do not approach closer or activate any systems. You will be scanned. Beams of blue light swept over their ship. The scan was invasive, checking every circuit, every atom. It took 30 minutes. Finally, the voice returned. You may proceed to Mars Station 7. Do not deviate from the provided flight path. Any deviation will be considered hostile action. A route appeared on their navigation system. It wound carefully through the defense shells, passing close enough to the weapons platforms that they could see the details. Each platform bristled with weapons they didn't recognize. Some seemed to bend space around them. Others glowed with contained antimatter. A few appeared to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. They've been holding back, Admiral Thek said quietly. He had barely spoken since his fleet was destroyed. All these years we thought we knew human military capability. We knew nothing. Mars Station 7 was a massive structure orbiting the red planet. As their ship docked, they could see thousands of human vessels in formation nearby. Not just military ships, but colony ships, cargo haulers, science vessels. All armed, all waiting. They were met at the airlock by Admiral Sarah Chen. She wore a simple black uniform with no decorations except a small earth pin. Her expression was polite but cold. "Council representatives," she said with a slight nod. "Follow me." She led them through corridors filled with humans moving with urgent purpose. No one stopped to stare at the aliens. Everyone had a job to do. They passed rooms where tactical displays showed the Devourers advance. Other rooms held scientists working on weapons. In one large bay, they saw something that made them all stop. It was a Devourer, or part of one, a section of liquid metal hull, contained in an energy field being studied by hundreds of researchers. "You captured one?" Sukar asked. 40 years ago, Chen replied without stopping. "We've been studying them ever since, developing countermeasures. We tried to share our findings with the Council 18 times. Each time we were told it was unnecessary paranoia." They entered a conference room with a view of Earth. The blue-green world was surrounded by its own defense grid, ships moving in perfect synchronization. Chen gestured for them to sit but remained standing herself. "So," she said, "the Council finally wants to talk." Julian stood, her hands clasped in the formal gesture of apology. "Admiral Chen, on behalf of the Galactic Council, I offer our deepest apologies. We were wrong. We failed to recognize humanity's contributions. We failed to show proper respect." Stop," Chen interrupted. "I've heard empty apologies before. What do you actually want?" "We need your help," Sukar said bluntly. "The Devourers are consuming everything in their path. The Corvani Empire has lost 60% of its fleet in 12 worlds. The plague has spread to 30 systems. Pirates control major trade routes. The supernova bomb will detonate in 36 hours. Without you, we're finished," Chen nodded. "We know. We've been monitoring the situation." "And?" Julian asked hopefully. "And what? You made it very clear you didn't need us. You called us aggressive primitives. You laughed at our warnings. You dismissed our contributions. Now you face the consequences. People are dying," Terran pleaded. "Billions of people." "People were always dying," Chen replied. "You just didn't notice because we were quietly preventing it. How many humans died protecting Council worlds? Do you know?" "Silence. 47,000, Chen said. 47,000 humans gave their lives over 50 years protecting people who wouldn't even give us a vote in the Council. Their names were never recorded in your histories. Their families never received recognition. They died as invisible heroes." She pulled up a holographic display showing a tactical map of the galaxy. The Devourers had consumed a quarter of Corvani space and were spreading to other territories. Behind them, in the void between galaxies, massive energy signatures indicated the approaching Hollow Fleet. "You want our help with the Devourers," Chen said, "but they're not the real threat. They're just the beginning. The Hollow Fleet will arrive in 3 months, maybe less. Then help us," Julian begged. "If not for us, then for the innocent civilians who will die." Chen was quiet for a moment. Then she pulled up another display. This one showed Earth's defense status. "We have enough resources to protect Earth and our colonies for approximately 7 months against the Hollow Fleet. If we help you, if we spread our forces across the galaxy again, that drops to 3 weeks." The meaning was clear. Helping the Council would likely mean humanity's extinction too. "But together," Yath said suddenly, "together we might survive longer. The Council has resources, ships, people. If we truly united under human leadership." "Now you offer leadership." Chen laughed bitterly. "After 50 years of being told we were too young, too aggressive, too different? Now when you need us, suddenly we're worthy of leadership." "Yes," Sukar said simply. "Yes, we were fools." The records chronicler Yath revealed show the truth. Humanity has been the only thing standing between the Council and extinction for decades. You've earned the right to lead 1,000 times over. Chen walked to the window looking out at Earth. "My mother devoted her life to protecting the Council. She died believing that one day, humanity would be accepted as equals. She never lived to see it. Neither did my father, who died defusing one of 17 antimatter bombs planted on Council worlds by terrorists. She turned back to them. We'll offer you terms. One time only. No negotiation. Anything, Julian said immediately. First, humanity receives full council membership with permanent veto power over all military decisions. Second, the council formally acknowledges humanity's role in its survival, with full public disclosure of all classified records. Third, all species contribute resources and personnel to a united defense force under human command. Fourth, the council charter is rewritten to prevent any species from being denied membership based on age or cultural differences. Agreed, Zukar said before anyone else could speak. I'm not finished, Chen continued. Fifth, memorials will be built on every council world for the humans who died protecting them. Sixth, human medical and technological knowledge will be freely shared, but human personnel will train others to maintain it themselves. We won't create dependence again. Seventh, when this crisis passes, these terms remain permanent. No renegotiation when you feel safe again. The council members looked at each other. These terms would fundamentally reshape galactic civilization. But they had no choice. We agree to all terms, Julian said formally. Chen studied them for a long moment. There's something else you should know. The Hollow Fleet doesn't just destroy. It harvests. It takes the most successful civilizations and absorbs them into itself. That's why it sent the Devourers first to test our defenses. She pulled up another display, showing energy readings from beyond the galaxy. They've been watching. They know humanity is the real threat. When they come, they'll focus on Earth first. By helping you, we're painting an even bigger target on ourselves. Then why help us? Pip asked. Because despite everything, it's who we are, Chen replied. Humans protect others, even when those others don't deserve it. Even when it costs us everything. She paused. But this time we do it as equals, not servants. An aide entered the room urgently. Admiral, the Devourers have accelerated. They'll reach the Council capital in 18 hours. The supernova bomb's countdown has also accelerated. 20 hours to detonation. Chen turned to the Council members. If you agree to our terms, we move now. Every second counts, Julian stood. We agree. How do we formalize? Your word is enough, Chen interrupted. We're past bureaucracy. She activated her communicator. All units, initiate Protocol 7, we're going back. The response was immediate. Throughout the system, human ships began powering up weapons systems. The defense platforms started moving, reconfiguring into mobile units. The stellar collectors increased their energy output, feeding power to massive jump drives. You're taking the entire defense grid? Zukar asked. We're taking everything, Chen replied. If we're going to do this, we do it right. The Hollow Fleet wants a fight. We'll give them one they'll never forget. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the Prometheus, watching as the Hollow Fleet's vanguard tore through the Devourers like paper. The machine intelligences that had terrorized Council space for weeks were being consumed by something far worse. The Hollow Fleet ships were massive crystalline structures that seemed to exist partially outside normal space, their surfaces reflecting impossible colors. Admiral, all human forces are in position, Commander Jackson reported. The Council fleets are... He paused, checking his displays, attempting to form up. It's chaos out there, Chen nodded. 3 days had passed since humanity's return. They had destroyed the Devourers in 6 hours using resonance weapons, defused the supernova bomb in 12, and established order in most sectors within 48 hours. But none of that mattered now. The Hollow Fleet had arrived early. Open a channel to all ships, Chen ordered. All frequencies. The communication system hummed to life, connecting her to every vessel in Council space. Human ships, Corvani warships, Zelathi cruisers, even the small patrol boats of minor species. Everyone was listening. This is Admiral Chen of the United Earth Fleet. What you see before you is the greatest threat our galaxy has ever faced. The Hollow Fleet has consumed 12 galaxies before ours. They harvest successful civilizations, absorbing their knowledge, their technology, their very essence into their collective. On the tactical display, the first Hollow ship fired. A beam of twisted space-time struck a Corvani dreadnought, and the proud vessel simply ceased. Not destroyed, not vaporized, but erased from existence as if it had never been. Standard weapons won't work, Chen continued. Standard tactics will fail. But humanity has been preparing for this enemy for 30 years. We knew they were coming. We studied their previous conquests, and we found their weakness. She turned to her crew. Initiate dimensional resonance. All ships slave your systems to the Prometheus. Across the combined fleet, human technology interfaced with alien systems. The translation networks humanity had left behind activated in reverse, not translating language but translating technology. Suddenly, every ship in the fleet was part of a single, coordinated organism. President Zukar's voice came through from his flagship. "Admiral, my weapon systems are changing." "What are you doing?" "Upgrading you," Chen replied. "The Hollow Fleet exists partially in multiple dimensions. Normal weapons can't touch them. But we've developed something new." The Prometheus began to glow, its hull rippling with energy that hurt to look at. That energy spread through the fleet network like a virus, transforming weapons, shields, even the basic structure of ships. "By the ancestors," Julian whispered from her diplomatic vessel, "you're rewriting the laws of physics around our ships." "Not rewriting," Chen corrected. "Expanding. The Hollow Fleet thinks in 11 dimensions. Now so do we." The first human ship to engage was a small frigate, the UES Manhattan. It fired what looked like a simple torpedo, but as the weapon moved through space, it left ripples in reality. When it struck a hollow ship, the crystalline structure screamed, a sound that resonated through dimensions. A crack appeared in its perfect surface. All ships engage at will. Remember, they learn from everything they absorb. Don't let them take any of our vessels intact. The battle erupted across 1,000 light years. Ships fought in normal space, in hyperspace, in dimensions that didn't have names. The Prometheus moved through the battlefield like a conductor leading an orchestra, coordinating attacks, preventing friendly fire, adapting tactics in real time. Chronicler Yath watched from the council capital, the entire battle being broadcast to every world. "They're not just fighting," he said to the assembled crowd. "They're teaching. Every move the humans make shows us how to fight these creatures." Indeed, Chen's voice continued to echo across the communications, explaining each tactic, each weakness discovered. When the Hollow Fleet adapted, she adapted faster. When they brought in reinforcements, she had already predicted it and positioned ships to intercept. But the Hollow Fleet was vast. For every ship destroyed, 3 more appeared. They began to speak, their collective voice broadcast across all frequencies. "Humanity." The voice was like grinding glass. "We have watched you. You alone in this galaxy are worthy of absorption. Join with us. Become eternal." Chen laughed, the sound carrying across the fleet channel. "Counteroffer. Leave now and we won't turn you into scrap metal." The Hollow Fleet's response was to bring in their core ship. It was massive, the size of a small moon, its crystalline structure containing the absorbed essences of 1 trillion civilizations. It moved toward Earth with inevitable purpose. "Admiral," Jackson said urgently, "if that thing reaches Earth—" "It won't," Chen said. She turned to the council representatives who had remained on the Prometheus as observers. "President Zukar, Ambassador Julian, all of you. You wanted to know why humanity always helped you? Why we protected you even when you rejected us? Watch." She opened a channel to Earth. "All civilian vessels initiate Emergency Protocol 1. From Earth system, 10,000 ships emerged. Not warships, but colony vessels, cargo haulers, mining ships, each one piloted by volunteers. They formed a wall between the Hollow Fleet and Earth." "What are they doing?" Julian asked. "Those ships have no weapons." "They're buying time," Chen said quietly. "Every human knows that sometimes one person must stand so that others can live. Those 10,000 ships carry volunteers who knew they wouldn't come back." The civilian ships accelerated toward the Hollow Core ship. As they approached, each one began to overload their engines. The explosions were small individually, but 10,000 antimatter cores detonating in sequence created a barrier of pure energy. The Hollow Core ship slowed, its surface crackling with damage. And in that moment of weakness, Chen struck. "Prometheus, activate the mirror protocol." The Prometheus transformed. Its hull split open like a flower, revealing a core of impossible geometry. It was a dimensional mirror, reflecting the Hollow Fleet's own nature back at them. "You absorb civilizations," Chen said to the Hollow Fleet. "You take their knowledge, their essence. But what happens when you try to absorb something that's already absorbing you?" The Prometheus fired a beam of pure paradox at the Hollow Core ship. The crystalline structure began to fold in on itself, trying to absorb something that was simultaneously absorbing it. The logical impossibility created a cascade failure. "All ships concentrate fire on the core ship. Everything you have." The combined fleet opened fire. Corvani plasma cannons, Zalathi quantum torpedoes, human resonance weapons, even the small patrol ship's basic lasers, all of it focused on the failing core ship. The Hollow Fleet tried to protect their core, but the human coordination was perfect. For every move they made, Chen had a counter. She had studied them for decades, learned their patterns, their habits, their thoughts. "You made a mistake," Chen broadcast to the Hollow Fleet. "You announced yourselves. You gave us time to prepare. You assumed we were like the others you've consumed. But humanity has one trait you've never encountered. We're stubborn. We don't give up. And we protect our own." The core ship cracked, its crystalline structure shattering. The stored essences of 1,000,000,000 civilizations erupted outward, finally free. The release of energy was visible across the galaxy, a rainbow of light that painted the void. The remaining hollow ships hesitated. Without their core, they were individuals, not a collective. And individuals could feel something the collective couldn't. Fear. "This is your one chance," Chen announced. "Leave, never return, or we will hunt every last one of you across every dimension until none remain." For a long moment, the battlefield was still. Then one by one, the hollow ships began to retreat, sliding back into the spaces between dimensions. Within an hour, they were gone. The combined fleet erupted in celebration. Ships from 100 different species cheered in 100 different ways. But on the Prometheus, Chen stood quietly, looking at the display showing the 10,000 civilian ships that had sacrificed themselves. Julian approached her. "They're heroes. All of them. They're human," Chen replied. "It's what we do." President Zukar stepped forward, and to everyone's surprise, he bowed. A Corvani president had never bowed to anyone. "Admiral Chen, humanity has saved us all again, but this time we understand." "We see." Chen turned to face the assembled council representatives. Do you really understand? Those 10,000 volunteers didn't die for humanity. They died for all of us. Human, Corvani, Zalathi, everyone. That's what the council never understood. We don't see species. We see people." She pulled up a display showing the galaxy. "The Hollow Fleet will be back. Maybe not for 1,000 years, but they'll return. And there will be other threats. There always are. The question is, will we face them together or will you forget again?" "Never," Julian said firmly. "The Council will never forget humanity's sacrifice again." Chen nodded. "Then we have work to do. The Devourers damaged hundreds of worlds. The plague still needs to be fully contained. Pirates need to be cleared out, and we need to build defenses that can last 1,000 years." She turned to her crew. "Begin coordination with all Council fleets. Establish medical stations on affected worlds. Restore the translation networks and—" She paused, a small smile appearing. "Open Earth's borders. It's time we stopped hiding.